The morning sun spread its light across the tall glass building of Royal Pearl Hotel. Inside, the staff hurried to prepare the main dining hall. The hotel was famous for its elegance, and only the city's wealthiest guests walked through its golden doors. Among the workers, there was Mina, a young waitress who had been serving at the hotel for almost 2 years. Mina was known for her polite smile and calm nature. Though she wore the simple black and white uniform of the staff, her eyes always carried a hidden sadness that only a few noticed. She lived with her mother in a small rented house at the edge of the city. Her father had passed away many years ago, leaving them to survive on their own. Life was not easy, but Mina's determination gave her strength. Every coin she earned went toward her mother's medicine and household expenses. On that particular day, the staff was told to be extra careful because a very important guest was coming. The name spread like wildfire among the waiters and receptionists: Armand Shah, the billionaire businessman who owned half the city's properties. His picture often appeared in newspapers, tall, serious, with eyes that looked like they always carried secrets. Mina listened quietly when the manager explained everything. She knew her job was simply to serve and not ask questions. Yet, she wondered how a man with such wealth must live. Did he smile often? Did he have a family? Or was his life filled with loneliness, despite the millions in his accounts? By noon, the dining hall sparkled. Fresh flowers decorated the tables, and silverware shone under the chandeliers. Mina stood near the corner, holding a tray of water glasses, when the doors opened and Armand Shah walked in. He was surrounded by assistants, all dressed in expensive suits. But Mina's eyes caught something different. On Armand's hand, there was a ring, a silver band with a tiny green stone in the center. The moment Mina saw it, her heart skipped a beat. That ring looked exactly like the one her mother had kept safe in an old wooden box. Mina had seen it countless times as a child. Her mother used to say, "This ring is very special, Mina. It holds memories I can never forget." For years, Mina thought it was just an old family treasure, nothing more. But here, on the hand of a billionaire, the same design appeared shining, polished, and worn with pride. Mina's hands trembled as she poured water into the glass in front of Armand. She tried to hide her curiosity, but the words slipped out before she could stop herself. "Hi, sir," she said softly, almost whispering. "My mother has a ring just like yours." The moment was small, but it carried weight. Armand lifted his eyes from the menu and looked at her sharply. His expression, usually calm and unreadable, changed for a second. A shadow of surprise crossed his face. The assistants kept talking, but Armand's gaze remained fixed on Mina. It was as if her simple words had unlocked a memory he had buried long ago. Mina instantly regretted speaking. She lowered her eyes, nervous that she might get scolded for being unprofessional. But instead of anger, there was silence. Armand leaned back in his chair, fingers brushing the ring, and asked in a quiet voice, "Your mother has the same ring?" Mina nodded quickly, afraid she had said too much. "Yes, sir. It looks exactly the same." Armand's jaw tightened, and for a moment, he looked away, as though battling with his thoughts. No one else at the table noticed the change, but Mina did. She could feel something heavy in the air, something she did not understand. When the lunch order was placed, Armand spoke very little. He seemed distracted, his eyes often wandering toward Mina as she moved around the hall. Each time, he touched his ring unconsciously, like a man who suddenly remembered a story from long ago. By the time the guests left, Mina's heart was racing with questions. Why did the billionaire react that way? What connection could there be between her mother's old ring and his? Later that night, as Mina walked home with her small bag of tips, she replayed the scene in her mind. Her mother was waiting in the dimly lit house, sitting on the wooden chair near the window. Mina placed the money on the table and then asked carefully, "This ring of yours, where did you get it from?" Her mother's hands froze. She looked at Mina with wide eyes, and for a moment, she did not answer. The silence in the room felt louder than any words. Mina knew then something from the past was hidden inside that ring. The small house was quiet except for the ticking of an old clock on the wall. Mina's question still hung in the air. Her mother, Nadia, stared at her with eyes that showed both fear and pain. For years, Nadia had avoided speaking about her past, always brushing away Mina's curiosity with a soft smile. But tonight, after what Mina had seen at the hotel, silence no longer felt possible. Nadia slowly placed her hands on her lap and whispered, "Mina, why are you asking about the ring today?" Mina hesitated, then sat beside her mother. "At work today, the billionaire, Armand Shah, he has a ring exactly like yours. When I told him, he looked at me in such a strange way. Please tell me. What is the truth about this ring?" Nadia closed her eyes for a moment, as if gathering the courage to open a door she had kept locked for years. Her fingers touched the simple silver band with the green stone that she always kept wrapped in a small cloth inside the box. "This ring," Nadia said softly, "was given to me a long time ago, by someone I once loved deeply." Mina's heart pounded. She had never heard her mother speak like this. "Who, am I? Who gave it to you?" Nadia's eyes turned moist. "His name was Yusuf. He was kind, gentle, and full of dreams. We met when I was your age. He came from a respected family, but not wealthy. Still, his smile was enough to make my world brighter. He promised me a future, and this ring was his gift. He said it was a symbol of our bond, something unique. We thought no one else would ever have one like it." Mina listened with wide eyes. "But, if Yusuf gave you this ring, how does Armand Shah have the same one?" Nadia shook her head slowly. "That I do not know." Her voice trembled, but she continued. "Yusuf disappeared before we could marry. One day, he left the city with no word, no letter, no explanation. I waited for months, then years, hoping he would return. But he never came back. Soon after, I learned I was carrying you. And so, I raised you alone. This ring is all I had left from him." Mina's chest tightened. She had always believed her father had died before she was born. Now she realized the story was different, full of unanswered questions. "But Mina asked carefully, could Yusuf be connected to Armand Shah? Could there be a reason they both have this same ring?" Nadia sighed, staring into the distance. "I do not know, child. Life has strange ways of circling back. Perhaps that ring on Armand's hand carries a story just like mine." Mina's mind refused to rest. She lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling, her thoughts chasing each other. The look in Armand's eyes when she mentioned the ring, it was not random. It was recognition. But recognition of what? Of her mother? Of Yusuf? Or something more complicated? The next morning at the hotel, Mina could barely concentrate. Her manager scolded her twice for being distracted. But fate was not finished with her yet. By afternoon, Armand Shah returned, this time without his large group of assistants. He walked into the dining hall alone, wearing a dark suit and the same silver ring on his finger. Mina's breath caught in her throat when she saw him. She tried to hide behind the other waiters, but the manager called her forward. "Mina, serve Mr. Shah. And be careful." Her steps felt heavy as she carried the tray toward him. Armin looked up from his seat, his eyes calm but sharp, as though he had been waiting for her. "Your name?" he asked in a low voice once she placed the water on his table. "Mina, sir," she answered nervously. Armin studied her face, then spoke words that made her knees weak. "What did you say yesterday, about your mother's ring? Tell me again." Mina swallowed hard. "My mother has a ring just like yours. She said it was given to her by someone long ago." Armin's fingers tightened around his glass. For a moment, he seemed lost in thought. Then, almost in a whisper, he said, "What is your mother's name?" Mina hesitated. Something inside told her that revealing too much might change everything. But the curiosity in Armin's eyes was strong, almost desperate. "Nadia," she finally replied. The name hit Armin like a storm. His hand froze, his eyes widened, and his face turned pale. He leaned back in his chair, breathing deeply, as though the past had come rushing back all at once. Mina watched in confusion. "Sir, are you all right?" Armin nodded slowly, though his eyes looked distant. After a pause, he said quietly, "I knew a Nadia, many years ago." Mina's heart skipped. Could it be true? Could her mother's lost love and this billionaire be connected? Armin stood abruptly, pushing his chair back. "I must go," he muttered, leaving behind untouched food. But before walking out, he looked at Mina once more, his voice heavy with emotion. "Tell your mother, the past has a way of returning. And sometimes, it carries answers we are not ready for." He left the hall, leaving Mina trembling with questions. That night, she returned home and repeated every word to Nadia. Her mother's hands shook as she listened, tears falling silently down her cheeks. "Am I?" Mina whispered. "Do you think this Armin Shah is Yusuf?" Nadia covered her face, unable to answer. But deep inside, Mina knew the truth was beginning to surface, and their lives would never remain the same. The night after Mina shared Armin's words, their small home felt heavy with silence. Nadia sat quietly by the window, her hand clutching the old silver ring. Her eyes looked far away, as if she was seeing memories from years ago. Mina sat on the floor, waiting, hoping her mother would explain. Finally, Nadia whispered, "If Armin Shah is really Yusuf, then he is the man I once loved." Mina's eyes widened. Her heartbeat raced. "Am I? Then he is my father." Nadia's lips trembled. She could not answer directly. "I don't know anymore. Too much time has passed. People change. But if he truly remembers me, then perhaps the truth will come out soon." Mina felt her chest tighten. For years, she had lived with the belief that her father was gone forever. Now, suddenly, the possibility of him being alive, and not just alive but a powerful billionaire, was beyond imagination. The next morning, Mina returned to the hotel with 1,000 thoughts in her head. She wondered if Armin would come again. And if he did, what would he say? What did he remember of Nadia? By afternoon, her questions were answered. Armin arrived once more, his step slower, his expression deeper than before. This time, he carried no assistants, no papers, only himself. He asked to be seated in a quiet corner of the hall. Mina served him tea, her hands shaking slightly. Armin looked at her carefully. After a long silence, he finally spoke. You said your mother's name is Nadia. Tell me, how old are you? Mina hesitated. I am 21. Armin's eyes darkened, and his breath grew uneven. 21. That was the same number of years that had passed since he last saw Nadia. He set his cup down. Bring your mother tomorrow. I need to see her. Mina felt her heart stop. Sir. I don't know if she will agree. Tell her it is important, Armin said firmly. There are things from the past that must not remain buried. That night, Mina told Nadia everything. Her mother's face turned pale. He wants to see me, she whispered. Yes, am I? He said it is important. Nadia's hands shook as she held the ring. She had imagined this moment 1,000 times, yet the thought of facing him now terrified her. What will I say after all these years? What if he has forgotten who I was? What if he denies everything? Mina placed her hand on her mother's. You owe it to yourself to know the truth. And I need to know too, am I? I need to know who he really is. The next day, the hotel seemed to breathe differently. Mina guided her mother inside through the staff entrance. Nadia wore a simple scarf and a plain dress, but her eyes revealed a storm of emotions. Mina stayed close to her, whispering encouragement. When Armin entered the private lounge, he stopped in his tracks. His usually controlled face broke into raw emotion. His eyes locked on Nadia, and for a moment, the world around them seemed to fade away. Nadia, he whispered, his voice thick with memories. Nadia's eyes filled with tears. Yusuf. Armin stepped closer, his hand trembling slightly as he touched the ring on his finger. Yes, it's me. I was Yusuf. But the man you once knew is now called Armin Shah. Nadia's tears fell freely. For years, she had wondered what had happened to him. Now he stood before her, not the simple young man she once knew, but a powerful figure whose name carried weight across the city. Why? Nadia finally asked, her voice breaking. Why did you leave me without a word? Do you know how I searched for you? Do you know how I waited? Armin's face darkened with pain. I never wanted to leave. Circumstances forced me. My family, there were matters of honor, money, and betrayal. They sent me away, far from this city. By the time I returned, everything had changed. I thought I had lost you forever. Nadia shook her head, her heart aching. And all this time, you built your empire while I struggled to raise our child alone. Armin froze. His eyes turned sharply toward Mina, who stood quietly by the door, her face pale. Our child. Nadia's lips trembled as she nodded. Yes, Yusuf. Mina is your daughter. The air in the room grew heavy. Armin's eyes filled with shock, then disbelief, then something deeper: regret, sorrow, and longing. He stepped closer, staring at Mina as if seeing her for the first time. Mina's hands tightened around her scarf. She had imagined meeting her father, but not like this. Not as a stranger in a hotel lounge. You are my daughter. Armin whispered. Mina swallowed hard, tears threatening to fall. If what Ami says is true, then yes. For the first time in his powerful life, Armin Shah felt small. He had all the wealth in the world, yet he had missed 21 years of his daughter's life. He had not been there for her first steps, her first words, her struggles, her tears. I don't know what to say, he admitted, his voice breaking. Nadia wiped her tears. Say nothing, Yusuf. Just understand what your absence has cost us. The three of them stood there, bound by the past, unsure of what the future would hold. And for Mina, the story of the ring had opened the door to a truth that would change her life forever. The meeting inside the hotel lounge left Mina shaken. She walked home that night with her mother, and neither of them spoke much. Nadia's eyes were red from tears, while Mina's heart was filled with questions that seemed too heavy for words. The truth was out now. Arman Shah was not just a billionaire. He was Yusuf, the man her mother had once loved, and he was her father. But what did that mean for her? Could someone who had been absent for her entire life suddenly step into the role of a father? The next day, Mina tried to distract herself with work, but she could not focus. She spilled a glass of juice, dropped a fork, and was scolded twice by the manager. She kept thinking about Arman's face when he heard the truth. There had been regret in his eyes, a pain she couldn't ignore. By noon, Arman returned again. This time, his steps were firm, as though he had made a decision. He called Mina aside quietly. "Mina," he said in a low voice, "I know this is difficult. I do not expect you to accept me so quickly. But I want to make up for what I have lost. Will you allow me a chance?" Mina's throat tightened. She didn't know what to say. She wanted to scream, "Where were you all these years?" But at the same time, something inside her longed for the warmth of a father she had never known. She looked down at her hands. I don't know, sir. Everything feels strange. Yesterday you were just a guest. Now you say you are my father. It is not easy to believe." Arman nodded slowly. "I understand. Take your time. But know this: I never stopped thinking about Nadia, and if I had known about you, I would have never stayed away." Mina's eyes stung with tears. She didn't reply. She turned and walked back to her duties, leaving Arman standing alone. That evening, when Mina returned home, she found her mother sitting quietly, holding the ring again. "He spoke to me today," Mina said softly. Nadia looked up. "What did he say?" "He wants a chance, to make up for the years he lost." Mina sighed. "But can we really trust him? What if he hurts us again?" Nadia's face softened. "Child, the heart does not forget so easily. Yusuf was once kind and true. But life changed him. Now he is Arman Shah, a man with wealth and power. I do not know if he is still the same person. But he is your father. That truth cannot be denied." The following days were filled with tension. Arman began visiting the hotel more often, always looking for a moment to speak with Mina. Sometimes, he asked about her childhood, what games she liked, how she studied, what dreams she carried. Other times, he only watched her quietly, his face heavy with regret. One evening, Arman requested something unusual. He asked Mina and Nadia to meet him not in the hotel, but in his private office. "Please," he said earnestly, "I want to speak to both of you, without the noise of strangers around." Nadia hesitated, but Mina encouraged her. "Maybe we should hear him out, Am. Running away won't change the truth." The next day, they stepped into Arman's world. His office was on the top floor of a tall building, filled with books, family portraits, and large windows that showed the whole city. Yet despite all the wealth, there was a loneliness in the room. Arman welcomed them quietly. He offered tea, though his hands shook slightly as he poured it. He looked at Nadia with eyes full of emotions that words couldn't carry. "Nadia," he began, "I never stopped loving you. The day I left, it wasn't my choice. My family forced me into a world of business and obligations. By the time I was free, it was too late. You were gone. Nadia's eyes glistened. And what about me, Yusuf? I was left behind with questions and pain. I raised our daughter alone, and you were not there to see her first smile, her first words, her first steps. Can you imagine what that felt like? Armin lowered his head. I can't. And I will never forgive myself for it. But I want to be part of her life now, if she allows me. His eyes turned toward Mina. Mina, I don't ask for your love today. I only ask for a chance to be near you, to see the daughter I lost for 21 years. Give me that much, and I will be grateful. Mina's chest ached. She looked at her mother, who gave a small nod as if to say the choice was hers. Mina's lips trembled as she finally spoke. I don't know how to feel about you yet. But I will give you a chance. Not because you are rich, but because you are my father. Armin's eyes filled with tears for the first time in years. He reached forward, but stopped himself, afraid of pushing too fast. Thank you, Mina. That is more than I deserve. For the first time, hope filled the air. But beneath that hope, questions still remained. Why had Armin truly disappeared? What secrets had kept him away? Mina didn't know it yet, but the answers would soon test their fragile new bond. The days that followed were unlike anything Mina had ever experienced. For the first time in her life, she felt the presence of a father, though it was still distant and uncertain. Armin would call her sometimes, asking if she had eaten, how her day had gone, or what she planned for the future. His voice was gentle, yet there was always a shadow in his tone, as if something remained unsaid. Mina appreciated the effort, but her heart still wrestled with doubts. Could a few kind words erase 21 years of absence? Could trust grow so quickly? One evening, Armin invited Mina and Nadia again to his office. This time, his face looked more serious than before. He poured tea for them, but his hands were unsteady. After a long silence, he spoke. There are things you both deserve to know, he began, his voice low. The truth about why I disappeared, why I could not return, and why I became someone else. Nadia tightened her scarf, her heart pounding. She had waited 2 decades for this explanation. Mina leaned forward, her eyes wide with curiosity and fear. Armin took a deep breath. When I was still Yusuf, I loved you, Nadia, more than anything. You were my world. But my family was not as simple as yours. They were powerful, proud, and always thinking of status. When they learned of us, they opposed it fiercely. They said you came from a poor background and that marrying you would shame them. Nadia's eyes filled with anger. And you listened to them? Armin shook his head quickly. No, I refused. I told them I would marry you no matter what. That night, I even planned to run away with you. But before I could, my father's men came. They forced me out of the city, sent me abroad, and cut me off from everyone I knew. I was young, powerless, and trapped. Mina gasped. They took you away. Armin nodded, pain in his eyes. Yes. They controlled every letter, every message. I had no way of reaching you. Years passed as I was pushed deeper into business, forced to build the empire they wanted. By the time I gained control of my own life, I returned, but you were gone. Nadia's tears flowed. You left me waiting, Yusuf. I searched for you everywhere. Do you know how it felt to raise a child alone while the world whispered behind my back? Armin's voice broke. I know I failed you. And nothing I say will heal that wound. But please believe me, I never chose to leave you. It was taken out of my hands. Mina sat frozen. She had grown up thinking her father was either dead or had abandoned them. Now, hearing this truth, her feelings twisted inside her. She felt pity for him, yet anger still burned. But why didn't you fight back? Mina asked, her voice trembling. Why didn't you come sooner, even if it was hard? Armin looked at her with heavy eyes. Because I was weak. I let fear control me. And when I finally gathered the courage, too much time had already passed. I thought you both would hate me if I appeared after all those years. The room grew silent. The only sound was the ticking of the clock on the wall. Nadia finally spoke. You cannot erase the pain with words, Yusuf. But at least now I know the truth. At least now I understand why you vanished. Mina crossed her arms, her lips trembling. Maybe I understand too, but it still hurts. You missed everything, my childhood, my struggles, my dreams. You missed being my father when I needed one the most. Armin's face broke with sorrow. I cannot change the past, Mina. But if you allow me, I want to be here for your future. Let me walk beside you now, even if I failed before. Mina looked away, tears streaming down her cheeks. Her heart ached with confusion. She wanted to hate him, but a part of her longed for the love he offered. That night, as they left his office, Mina walked quietly beside her mother. Nadia finally said, he has told us his truth. But the choice is yours, Mina. Whether you let him into your life or not, it is your heart that must decide. At home, Mina lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The image of Armin's face haunted her, the regret in his eyes, the pain in his voice. Could she really open her heart to him? Or would it only bring more hurt? The next day at the hotel, Armin appeared again. This time, he didn't sit in the corner or ask for tea. He walked straight to Mina, ignoring the stares of the staff. Mina, he said, his voice steady, I want to do something for you. Not with money, not with gifts. I want to know you. Spend time with you. Please, let me try. Mina looked at him, her eyes shining with unshed tears. For the first time, she saw not a billionaire, not a powerful man, but a father, broken and longing. She didn't answer right away. Her silence was her shield. But deep inside, a seed of forgiveness had been planted, even if she was not ready to admit it yet. And as Armin watched her walk away, he promised himself this time, he would not fail. The days began to move slowly, carrying a strange mixture of hope and hesitation. Mina found herself thinking more often about Armin. Sometimes, she remembered the sadness in his eyes. Other times, she recalled the years he had been absent and how she and her mother had suffered. Her heart was torn between anger and the silent desire to know what it meant to have a father. Armin, on the other hand, did not give up. He came to the hotel not as a powerful man but as a father trying to rebuild something broken. He never pressured Mina, never forced her to talk. He would simply sit at a table, greet her with a small smile, and ask about her day. At first, Mina kept her answers short. Work was fine. I'm tired. Nothing special happened. But Armin continued with patience, as if he had all the time in the world to wait for her trust. One evening, when the hotel was less busy, Armin asked Mina if she would like to have dinner with him outside. Not at a fancy place, he said. Somewhere simple. Just father and daughter. Mina hesitated. Her heart raced at the word father. She had never said it herself, never called anyone by that name. Finally, she nodded. All right. But somewhere simple, like you said. That night, Armin took her to a small restaurant near the old market. The place smelled of spices, and the tables were wooden, nothing like the grand halls Mina worked in every day. For the first time, she saw Armin relax. He laughed softly when the waiter recognized him and asked for a photo. Mina watched him carefully. She had always seen him as untouchable, a man of power. But here, eating warm bread and curry, he looked almost ordinary. Did you eat at places like this when you were young? She asked suddenly. Armin's eyes softened. Yes. There was a place near the river. I used to go there with my friends. Sometimes, with your mother too. Mina lowered her gaze, hiding the small smile that formed. As the night went on, Armin spoke about his travels, his struggles to survive in a foreign country, the pressure of business, and the loneliness of success. Mina listened silently, her heart slowly opening. When he dropped her home, he said softly, "Thank you for tonight. It meant more to me than you can imagine." For the first time, Mina replied without hesitation. It meant something to me too. Nadia noticed the change in her daughter. She saw how Mina's eyes no longer carried the same anger when she spoke of Armin. Yet, Nadia herself remained cautious. She had once loved Yusuf deeply, only to be left behind in pain. Could she trust him again, even if he was now Armin Shah? One afternoon, Armin visited their small home for the first time. He removed his expensive coat and sat humbly on their old wooden chair. Mina served tea, and Nadia watched quietly, her emotions hidden behind calm eyes. This house reminds me of the days I left behind, Armin said softly. It feels more like home than all the mansions I own. Nadia sighed. But you chose wealth over us. Armin shook his head. No, Nadia. Wealth chose me. I never asked for it. I only wanted you. His eyes glistened. But I was weak, and I lost you both. The silence that followed was heavy. Mina looked between them, sensing the years of love and pain in their words. She realized something: her story was not just about a father and daughter. It was also about two people who had once shared a love that fate had stolen. In the weeks that followed, Armin tried to become part of Mina's life in small ways. He asked about her studies, encouraged her dreams, and even offered to support her education if she wished. Mina was hesitant to accept money, but she did not reject his care. One day, while walking home together, Mina asked him quietly, "Do you ever regret becoming who you are?" Armin smiled sadly. Every day. Success means nothing without the people you love beside you. He looked at her deeply. That's why I don't want to lose you again. Those words touched Mina. For the first time, she felt a warmth in her heart, a fragile bond forming where there had once been emptiness. Yet, the world outside was not silent. Whispers began to spread among the hotel staff. Some said Mina had caught the attention of the billionaire. Others guessed she might be secretly related to him. The rumors grew, and Mina felt the weight of eyes on her. One evening, she asked Armin, "What if people find out the truth? That I am your daughter?" Armin looked at her with firm eyes. "Then let them know. I am not ashamed of you, Mina. I am proud." Her heart trembled. No one had ever spoken of her with such pride before. That night, Mina lay in bed, thinking of everything. The anger she had carried for years was slowly fading. In its place was something new, something fragile yet powerful: hope. But she also knew the journey was not over. Forgiveness was not complete, and the wounds of the past were not fully healed. Still, for the first time in her life, she believed the future might hold something better. And though she did not say it out loud, a small voice inside whispered a word she had never spoken before: Father. The weeks turned into months, and Mina began to see a new side of life she had never known before. Armin Shah, once a stranger and now revealed as her father, became a quiet presence in her daily world. He did not try to replace the years he had missed, but he offered her attention, care, and respect. Slowly, Mina's heart opened, piece by piece. One sunny afternoon, Armin invited Mina and Nadia to his countryside villa. It was a vast place, surrounded by gardens and tall trees, a world away from the city's noise. Mina walked beside her mother, feeling a strange mix of excitement and nervousness. As they entered the villa, Armin smiled. I wanted you both to see that life can be simple, even for people like me. Nadia observed him carefully, noticing how much he had changed not just in appearance, but in spirit. There was humility in his smile, patience in his voice, and a softness she had never seen before. She realized that time and hardship had shaped him, perhaps into someone stronger, yet more understanding. Mina explored the garden, noticing flowers she had never seen before. Armin followed her quietly, occasionally pointing out a rare bloom or a bird that had landed nearby. There was no pressure, no expectations, only presence. That evening, they sat together on a wooden bench under the orange glow of the sunset. The silence was comfortable, a stark contrast to the tension that had dominated their first meetings. Father, Mina finally said, testing the word carefully, I think I understand you better now. I still have questions, and I still feel hurt sometimes, but I want to try. I want to know you. Armin's eyes glistened. Thank you, Mina. That is all I could ever hope for. Nadia placed her hand on Mina's shoulder. It is a step, child. Healing does not happen in one moment. But what matters is that the heart is willing. Over the next few days, they stayed at the villa, sharing meals, walking through the gardens, and talking about the past and future. Mina learned about Armin's life, his struggles abroad, the moments he had longed to see her grow, and the countless nights he had spent regretting leaving. In return, she shared her life, her small victories at school, the challenges of work, and the quiet dreams she had kept hidden. Armin listened, never judging, never interrupting, simply absorbing every word as if it were precious. One afternoon, while sitting by the lake behind the villa, Mina asked the question she had been holding inside for weeks. Father, do you think we can really be a family again? Armin reached out and gently held her hand. Yes, Mina. I believe we can. Not because the past can be erased, but because we are willing to face the future together. That is what makes a family. Mina looked at him, her heart swelling. For the first time, she felt the word family not as a distant dream, but as a reality. She smiled, a true smile, the kind that reached her eyes. Nadia joined them, placing her hand over theirs. We will rebuild our life, together. There will be mistakes, and there will be challenges, but we have each other now. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Armin looked at the ring on his hand, the same silver band with the green stone that had connected them all. He had carried it for decades, never realizing it would lead him back to his lost love and daughter. Now, it symbolized a new beginning. Mina felt a warmth in her chest, a mixture of joy and relief. She had found a father, she had reunited her mother with the love she had lost, and she had discovered a strength in herself she had never known. That night, as they returned to the villa, Armin tucked Mina into bed. "Good night, my daughter," he whispered softly. "Good night, father," Mina replied, the word feeling natural and real. Nadia watched from the doorway, tears in her eyes, knowing that the long years of pain were finally giving way to hope. Days turned into weeks, and Mina, Nadia, and Armin began building their life together slowly. They shared small routines, laughter, and moments of tenderness. Armin never tried to rush the bond, he let Mina and Nadia take their time to heal and trust again. Mina often thought of the first day she had noticed the ring. She remembered the shock, the curiosity, and the questions that had seemed too big to answer. Now, that same ring was a symbol of reunion, of love rediscovered, and of the promise that even the lost years could not erase the bond between a father and daughter. In time, Mina came to call Armin father not just in words, but in her heart. She forgave him, not for him, but for herself, for the chance to embrace a family she had only dreamed of. And as the sun rose over the villa the next morning, Mina, Nadia, and Armin walked together, hand in hand, into a future full of hope, love, and the promise that the past, while painful, had led them to exactly where they were meant to be. The story of the ring, the years of separation, and the lost love had finally found its ending, a beginning filled with trust, warmth, and family.